Think about your money. Banknotes, bank accounts. We believe its value is physical, real. But what if I told you that the fastest growing, most stable form of value today isn't on Wall Street, but on a server in a world built from polygons? What happens when the largest bank in the world is, in fact, a video game? This is no longer science fiction. The metaverse is redefining the economy. We're talking about economies that operate in parallel to ours, where millions of people work, buy, and earn. The question is no longer whether these worlds have money, but whether our money is just another skin in their system. The first case study is simple: Roblox. This platform is not a game, but a creation suite. Developers earn real money through what the platform calls DevX, Developer Exchange. In 2023, the Roblox community paid its creators over $700 million. Digital economist Edward Castronova put it clearly: if there is an exchange of goods and services, and there is an accepted currency, there is an economy. The key is perceived value. In Fortnite, the worth of an item isn't its utility, but its scarcity and social visibility. Travis Scott's virtual concert generated $20 million in digital merchandise sales in 2020. That money is real, driven by social demand in a virtual world. The economy of the metaverse isn't based on the GDP of a country, but on the social demand for a digital world, and it is growing. Now let's look at VRCHAT. Here, the game becomes work. The creation of customized avatars and social environments has become a full-fledged service industry. There are digital tailors designing virtual clothing and architects creating meeting rooms. Their clients pay in fiat currency via PayPal, but the final product exists only in the metaverse. This is the great conceptual leap. It's no longer play to earn, but work to exist. Consider Axie Infinity. In communities in the Philippines, the average income of an Axie player surpassed the national minimum wage. It is a digitalized gig economy. The work is real. It requires time and strategy. But the employer, the workplace, and even the starting salary are digital tokens, SLP in Axie's case. This raises the question of the future. What if your salary were paid in tokens from a metaverse? Researcher Carola Hein has shown how values and identity are deeply linked to physical and urban space. If we extrapolate that idea to the digital world, we can imagine a scenario where, once the value of property detaches from the physical, our identity and labor also disconnect from the nation-state. In that world, even your salary ceases to be a right of citizenship and becomes a variable within a digital ecosystem. The promise is decentralization. The danger is the absence of a safety net. If the metaverse company collapses, as we saw with the Terra Luna crash or the fall of FTX, your salary and your bank vanish without government protection. It is economic sovereignty handed over to an algorithm. We are entering a legal void. The metaverse is an economic ecosystem that exists without national borders and therefore without clear tax or labor regulation. Who collects taxes on a salary paid in Robux that is later converted to dollars in a virtual tax haven? If the work is performed under an anonymous avatar, how does labor law apply? Anonymity is the foundation of crypto freedom, but the regulator's nightmare. South Korea and the European Union are among the first attempting to define labor and safety laws applicable to metaverses. But the absence of laws also creates crime. The metaverse has its own black markets, scams, rug pulls, and thefts of digital property. In crypto assets, a confirmed transaction is practically irreversible. There is no central bank, no chargeback counter. That is by design security through cryptographic immutability. It is, so to speak, the law of the hash. What is written to the chain cannot be undone. The real case of the Bored Ape Yacht Club revealed this vulnerability. Millions of dollars in assets stolen from wallets through sophisticated phishing. There was no appeal. In this world, your private key is your constitution, your police, and your insurance. Lose it, and you lose your economic country. The irony is profound. The freest, most decentralized economy in history is simultaneously the most vulnerable and anarchic. And this forces us to ask, what does wealth mean when it only exists where we look? The philosophy of this new economy is the most complex. What happens when labor, capital, and wealth exist only in virtual worlds? If you spend 8 hours a day tending a digital farm, and your wages allow you to pay rent in the physical world, where does your primary existence lie? Philosopher Bostrom warned us of the simulation hypothesis. The metaverse is proof that, as a species, we tend to create worlds of value. Bostrom compels us to ask, if within a simulation we can build a real economy, what does that tell us about the nature of value? The implication is that value is a social construct, not a physical one. Here, value is programmed scarcity. In 2021, a plot of land in Decentraland sold for the equivalent of $2.4 million, surpassing the average house price in many real cities. Value is social ownership and access to that virtual space. The economy of the metaverse reveals the truth about money. It isn't gold. It isn't paper. It is the shared belief in a medium of exchange. The metaverse has simply shifted that medium from a physical bank to a digital smart contract. Money has always been a story we agreed to tell. The ultimate promise isn't wealth, but frictionless existence, a world where your work is not bound by geography or politics. But if our lives shrink down to a login, where do we go when the network fails? We are witnessing collapse. The metaverse is no longer a separate world. It is a layer of value superimposed on our own. Gaming tokens are exchanged for fiat to pay rent. Economic borders are growing ever more porous. The question for the future is not whether we will use tokens, but how much of our lives will be defined by them. If digital labor is more profitable than physical labor, and people invest everything in the metaverse, who will repair the roads and maintain the infrastructure of the real world? The economy of the metaverse is a mirror. It reflects our value for community, scarcity, and narrative. If we can program a world with rules, we can create an economy. The bank in the pixel is, in essence, the liberation of value from the tyranny of matter. But with that freedom comes the responsibility to understand that the value we create in code is as fragile and as powerful as the value we create with law and banknotes. The world is digital, and so is the bank. Are we building a future where wealth exists only if the network allows us to see it?